This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast with original independent science fiction written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I have Chapter 16 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on the way on this episode. Well, after many routine cargo runs and a couple of riskier operations, Alibi Jones and his Covert Ops Team have now been given a juicier assignment. They're going to help investigate a ghost ship. A supposed ghost ship. They have a couple of people from the project to pick up, and then they'll head to the ship itself. And we'll discover one of Alibi's crew actually has a personal connection to the ghost ship. Find out more in Chapter 16 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on the way, coming up on Glow in the Dark Radio. Well, we're actually getting into the heart of the original short story that inspired this novel. This is really Alibi Jones and the Ghost in the Machine material here. Although completely rewritten and reworked to be a part of a larger whole. But thanks again to Buck Weiss for asking me to be a part of the Hunting Ghosts anthology that inspired all of this to get it started. And while I'm thanking people, I've got to thank my patrons. You guys are keeping me going. And I'd love to have you as a patron if you're listening and haven't decided to support yet. If you're up for that and you can afford to, please head to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. If you just want to find out more, you can just head over there and get the details. $2, $5, or $10 a month is what I ask. I have 3 different levels, and you can sign up there at patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio and help support the podcast and get episodes early at the very least. And a major thank you to those of you who are still patrons and helping to support things here. I should also mention, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out on the 7th, or if you're a patron and you're getting it early, you have through the 7th into the 8th, really at 3 a.m., because I think it's West Coast time, to take advantage of the Smashwords Read an eBook Week sale. Kind of came up on me fast. They didn't really give me much warning, but once they did, I decided to make most of my ebooks free, except for the real big ones. Those are available for half price at $2.49. But yeah, if you go to smashwords.com, take a look for me, Mike Luoma, Luoma, and you'll be able to get some of my books free and some for half price. But only through the 7th. So if you're listening afterwards, I'm sorry you missed it. I'm still waiting for Lulu to get their act together, my distributor, on Alibi Jones' 6 short stories. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to go elsewhere for that book. I do have better news from my web hosts. They finally got their, together. Their shit, I suppose. Data, security. At any rate, they got it together for the websites, for the ancient apps that are on the blogs for alibijones.com and vaticanassassin.com. I have been posting on those for decades. And so all of a sudden there was this glitch and I wasn't able to sign in. Now that's been solved to some degree behind the scenes. And those should be up to date now if you usually get your podcasts through those sites, through alibijones.com or vaticanassassin.com. Those are up and running once again. Well, that's enough book news. Let's get into Chapter 16 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, coming up next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
Now here's Chapter 16 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on Glow in the Dark Radio. Alibi sat on the cruiser's bridge, watching footage from the mission package sent by Safe Command. The recording in front of Alibi alternated between a humorless man with a severe crew cut in a Safe Commander's uniform and an independent trader dressed in flamboyant maroon, gold, and black. "A haunted ship? Are you kidding me?" Garrison Commander Sharkovsky asked. Alibi knew the man was relatively new to his post, appointed a few months back after a corruption scandal cleaned out the old safe hierarchy on Depot. He obviously didn't suffer fools. "You want me to believe there's some kind of old haunted ship out there," Sharkovsky said. "Look, man, I know you're new here. I get it. Respect. You don't have to tough guy me," Hector Ruiz said. "Maybe you don't realize this, but I'm an independent. Ain't my habit to call into the safe garrison to chit-chat. Just trying to tell you, there's some sort of old alien husk floating out at those coordinates I sent you. And some kind of spaceman ghost with it that appeared on my bridge, saying, 'Don't let me die.' It was messed up." "What sort of cargo are you carrying, Independent?" Sharkovsky asked. "Hallucinogens?" Click. Alibi laughed as he switched off the footage. Cat appeared on the bridge and made his way up to his flight seat on Alibi's right. "What are you watching?" Cat asked. "Some more of your human comedy?" "Not exactly," Alibi said. "The mission package, archival material, the first report of the alien derelict, our ghost ship, at least this time around." "This time?" Cat asked. "I did not realize there was another time." "Yeah," Alibi said. "It appeared before, about 5 years ago. No talk of any ghosts back then, though, according to the reports. No talk of anything, really." Cat cocked his head to the side, inquisitive. "Another hush-hush mission, like ours. None of it was made public knowledge. I never heard anything about it myself," Alibi explained. "Another Covert Ops Team investigated back then. But most of them didn't make it back. Commander of the mission actually got ripped in half." "Row!" Cat growled. Alibi jumped a little, still not quite used to Cat's outbursts. Alibi had grown accustomed to Cat's brother Kit, a less emotional Dacour. Alibi now knew Kit's calm demeanor was not, evidently, a racial trait. "Sorry," Cat said, realizing he'd made Alibi jump. "But how did that happen? What ripped apart the commander?" "The ship itself," Alibi said. "The commander was on the outer hull of the alien ship when it unexpectedly shifted off into something like transspace or its equivalent. Took half of them with it, left the rest behind. No one knew why it happened." Alibi shook his head. He nodded at the screen in front of him. "I was just learning about it in the package." "I did not yet look through mine," Cat said. "Are we sure this is the same alien shipwreck, now reappeared?" "Back then, the covert safe crew installed a temporary airlock in the wreck. Managed to pressurize a small section inside of the alien ship. The guy who first reported this new appearance described an airlock just like that one." Cat growled. "What happened to the rest of the old Covert Ops team?" "Most of them were on board the alien vessel at the time it shifted away," Alibi said. "They were never heard from again. All 5 of the crew dead. Well, 4 presumed dead, MIA. "Perhaps this ghost that has been reported is merely a member of the old team trying to make contact?" Cat asked. "Now that the ship has returned?" "Maybe," Alibi said. "But it's not likely.
The crew stranded on the alien shipwreck only had a temporary setup back then, Kat. Even the most optimistic estimates put their supply of oxygen at 2 weeks. It's been over 5 years. Oh, Kat said. And the captain who called in the new contact described a ghost actually appearing on his ship, saying, "Don't let me die again," Alibi said. A glowing green spaceman ghost that disappeared when they left the old shipwreck. Alibi shook his head. That doesn't sound like anyone trying to make contact. Not a living person. Kat began to say something, but stopped. He paused, thinking. I still find it difficult to believe the safe and the project actually have us hunting ghosts, Kat said. Well, let's just say we're investigating an ancient alien shipwreck, Alibi clarified. Which may or may not be haunted, Kat pointed out. This is the ship we are going to. Yep. This makes me uneasy, Alibi Jones, Kat said. A sob shifted Alibi and Kat's attention towards the back of the bridge. Emily stood in the open hatch entry to the bridge with her hand up to her face. Her eyes were closed. She covered her mouth as another sob shook her. Alibi turned his captain's chair around. Emily, are you okay? He asked. I'm sorry, she said. I heard what you were talking about as I walked onto the bridge. She opened her eyes, red and rimmed with tears. I knew, she paused, someone on that team. They didn't come back alive. Emily fought back another sob. I'm sorry, she said. Alibi looked from Emily over to Kat, who nodded back at him. Kat turned to the ship's controls. Alibi realized there was a lot he didn't know about Emily and her past. This was new information. She hadn't mentioned it when he originally told her about their mission to investigate the mysterious alien vessel. Alibi got up from his chair and walked over to his sobbing teammate. I'm sorry, Emily, he said. He reached out to give her a reassuring squeeze on the shoulder, but she shrugged him off. She blinked away the tears welling up in her brown eyes. I'll be okay, she said. Wish I knew what to tell her. He wanted to say something to comfort her, but didn't have the words. Before he could attempt something he'd later regret, he was interrupted. Captain Al, what did you do to her? The woman's high-pitched, sharp-toned, and indignant voice rang out from the corridor behind Emily. Lenora Schwald sashayed up behind the other woman, bringing with her the overpowering scent of her powdery, flowery perfume. Schwald was an independent contractor who worked for the project, a supposed psychic sensitive in her mid-40s. The project's R&D people were experimenting with what they called extra-audible communication, the discovery of alien races who used telepathic means of communication had led to a cutting-edge program that employed people like Schwald. You're the psychic, you tell me, Alibi cracked. Now that's not very nice, Captain Al, Lenora said, as she reached out for Emily's arm. Emily pulled away from Lenora's grasp. Please, don't touch me, Emily said. She turned around, pushed past Lenora Schwald, and jogged off down the corridor. You should watch what you say to her, Captain Al, Lenora Schwald said. Doesn't take a psychic to see she likes you. And you are cute, I'll give you that. She actually winked at Alibi. But you piss her off like that, and you won't get anywhere. Well, not with her, anyway. The older woman laughed. She turned and glided off in the same direction Emily had gone. She likes me? Alibi said to himself. Where'd she get that? She is a psychic? Kat offered. For a psychic, she has no idea what other people are thinking, Alibi cracked. You want to bring us into Rigel 4? Kat called to Alibi. Alibi went back to his seat, shaking his head. You don't? Alibi asked. Kat looked over at him with a furry, furrowed brow and frowning whiskers. No, Kat said. When I agreed to join this Covert Ops Team, it was because it was supposed to operate outside of the Solar Alliance. All this traveling around inside the SA is troublesome to me. I am not comfortable doing so much inside of your SA's borders. This is a special case, Alibi said. The SA figures we're the right team to do this job. Alibi sat back down. He called up the safe garrison on Rigel 4 and secured clearance to land. "If we are so perfect for this assignment, why do we need Lenora Schwald?" Kat asked. "And why are we now picking up this Dr. Humphreys?" "To make us perfecter?" Alibi offered. Kat growled, but smiled a little at the same time. "I hope that you are right," Kat said. "But it could be we were chosen because we are easily expendable. If a Covert Ops Team goes missing, who notices?" "Comforting thought, Kat," Alibi said. "Thank you for your optimism." "You are welcome." "That didn't take long. Just barely put my suitcase away," Dr. Devin Humphreys, the xenobiologist, said, as the alien derelict came into focus on the bridge's view screens. He made his way to a passenger seat, one of the two open. Emily and Lenora Schwald were in two of the others. As usual, Kat and Alibi were up in the co-pilot and pilot seats at the front of the bridge. They guided their cruiser in closer towards the old shipwreck. "Transspace does not take very long, Doctor," Kat said. "We had the transspace jump coordinates on hand from earlier passers-by. It made the trip through transspace from Rigel 4's jump point quite easy." The interstellar neighborhood they jumped into was somewhat dusky, yet stunning, out near the edge of an as-yet unnamed nebula dominated by clouds of glowing violet and crimson star stuff. Their view of the bright colors was obscured by dense, closer clouds of unilluminated matter in between. The stellar debris clouds were dark, but not as black as the ancient alien husk of a ship they'd come to investigate. It floated across the dark clouds, appearing etched out in ebony ink, showing up against the nebula as a blotch of negative space, a small, jagged black hole. "Beautiful," Lenora said, as she looked out at the nebula. She closed her eyes and grew silent. "I'm not picking anything up yet," she said, after a few moments' silence. "Do you think you might?" Emily asked her. "This far away?" The older woman sat with her eyes closed and didn't answer. Emily tired of waiting. She turned away from the psychic and looked up at the front of the bridge. Alibi zoomed in on the alien ship, putting the larger image on the bridge's main view screen so all could see. "She's back, all right," Humphreys said. "Looks like the same ship. Lost 2 close friends and colleagues on that beast. Good xenobiologists. The project sent only the best in to investigate. The other folk on the crew were also top-notch." Alibi laughed. Humphreys glowered at him. "What's so funny?" Humphreys demanded. "Sorry," Alibi apologized. "It sounded like you just admitted you weren't the best, since they didn't send you in there." Alibi realized his explanation wasn't helping his case. "It wasn't appropriate. Sorry." "I was part of the original first contact team, the one that met the Domo, son," Humphreys said, sounding indignant. "However, as a manager, I couldn't go into this ship back then, much as I wanted to. But I sent our people into that ship. I'm here now because I feel like I owe it to them, or at least to their memory." "Again, I'm sorry," Alibi said. Trying to make a joke, it backfired. Humphreys glared at him for a moment, and then looked away. Alibi looked across the bridge at Emily. He wondered how she was handling her memories. He was beginning to wonder about some other things as well, such as the makeup of their small covert ops team. The Solar Alliance Interplanetary Force, SAFE, teamed up with the scientists of the project to assemble their squad. Alibi's Aunt Anita had run the project and led the Solar Alliance in the past. It had seemed natural for her to ask Alibi's Covert Ops team to look into the alien ship. Now that he knew both Humphreys and Emily had personal history tied into the first appearance of the wreck, Alibi was starting to wonder what strings were being pulled that he didn't know about. "Don't like being part of plans I'm not in on." "Don't mind Dr. Harumph, please," Lenora Schwald said, suddenly alert. "You two know each other?" Alibi asked, surprised. "Our paths have crossed," Humphreys said. "We both work with the project," Schwald said. "You might be surprised how often alien contact work calls for both the scientist and the psychic." "Too often lately," Humphreys said under his breath. "You two have come across a lot of haunted ships?" Alibi asked. "Not like this," Schwald said. She sounded excited. I'm a scientist, Humphreys said. I can assure you, whatever is going on here, there is no such thing as ghosts or haunted ships. Scientists are priests with their own set of dogma, Schwald said. Devon refuses to believe in anything he cannot see. Devon? Alibi asked. He's too stubborn to admit there even are such things as psychics, Schwald said. No matter how many times I've proven I'm sensitive. Proven? Humphreys said. He sounded both amused and a little annoyed. Proof? If only. All right, enough arguing. Let's move on and move in, Alibi said. You two simmer down. Emily, go back and start the onboard transspace nullifier, okay? Gotcha, Emily said, looking happy to be leaving the bridge. The transspace nullifier was a defensive weapon developed by the Project for use in the War for Humanity's Existence against the Eldred 25 years earlier. It created a field that prevented transspace engines from working. SAFE and the Project hoped the transspace nullifier might have the same effect on whatever engines moved the ancient alien derelict out of normal space, keeping it from suddenly shifting off. No one wanted a repeat of the incident that cost the captain of the first crew his life. The cruiser had a built-in nullifier, the one Emily went to turn on. There was also a much larger transspace nullifier sitting in the cruiser's cargo bay. They'd picked it up on Rigel 4 when Humphreys came on board. The plan was to move that big one over onto the alien ship, activating it over there in an attempt at keeping the derelict from jumping away without warning. The report said other ships experienced power drains when they approached the alien craft, Alibi said. Let me know if we see anything like that. All systems are being monitored for any power fluctuations, Cat informed him. Good, Alibi said, as the cruiser continued to close the distance between them and the giant, ageless alien vessel.
That was Chapter 16 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus, as it continues here on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. They're here. Well, Alibi Jones and his crew are here at the ghost ship. Emily turns out to have been involved with the captain of the ill-fated mission to this same ship years ago. And one of their new pickups for the mission, Devon Humphreys, was on that mission himself. They've also picked up Lenora Schwald, a supposed psychic. She's along for this one. Those two members of the project. And we'll start investigating the ghost ship for ourselves on our next episode, with Chapter 17 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest coming up on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Again, big thank you to patrons who help keep things going. And if you want to be a patron and help keep things going, I'd love to have you. Just head over to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. If you're listening to this on March 7th or before, you have a chance to still take advantage of the Smashwords Read an eBook Week sale, which ends at midnight Pacific time on the 7th. And I hope you'll join us again next week as we get into the heart of what was originally an Alibi Jones short story, Alibi Jones and the Ghost in the Machine. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2026 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NCND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at Incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.